Okay, yay. Hey, everybody. Kelly Nielsen here with Grace for Living After Loss, and we are going to be talking to Jean Adams, who went through our Grief Relief Accelerator program. And I just like to talk with folks who go through the program to find out how their experience was, how they found us, kind of just so that you can hear it from the horse's mouth. Because I can talk about all day long about how great this program is, but we want you to be able to hear from people who actually experienced it. So, Jean, thanks so much for being willing to share.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, kind of briefly or succinctly, can you let people know who it was that you lost and when you lost them that like caused you to seek us out in the first place? What loss were you recovering from?
It was my grandson, my 16-year-old grandson, who committed suicide back in March. I had gone through 3 losses prior to that that I didn't realize that I hadn't recovered from. And so this one just knocked my feet out from under me, which it would anyway,
Right.
I mean, a grandchild, But so after this one, and then I realized that all I wanted to do was sleep or escape. And those are the things that I was looking for. The things, I wanted the doctor to give me pills to make me sleep. That's all I wanted to do. I was non-functional pretty much. And so I knew that I had to do something, or either my life would end with his. So, and I don't even remember how I found you guys. Facebook, I don't have a clue anymore how I found you guys.
I think it was God's leading, right?
Because I think it was too.
We pray regularly that God brings us the people that we're called to serve. But you touched on a couple like amazing nuggets that I just want to touch on real quick. First is all losses are different, right? Mm-hmm. So how you grieve, depending on who you lost and the circumstances around their death, it's going to be different, right? And I also, you touched on the fact that like people can experience losses and they could be carrying around grief and they've so accepted it as part of their life that they just don't even realize that they're carrying it around and that they haven't fully processed those losses and healed from them, right? And certainly, and then there are ones, losing someone to an illness is different and having like a slow process before you lose the person versus a sudden traumatic or tragic is a different. And we're not here to say like better, worse, or what, but it's just different, right? And there are different challenges that come up with that, and some are harder to recover from than others. And so, so we don't know how you found us, but tell me, when you found us, what was it about our program and us that helped you to think, man, this could really work, or this might be really what I need? What was it?
It was the fact that you actually gave tools. And I got to meet with somebody weekly. I got a chance to talk with somebody one-on-one about what I was feeling and how I was recovering, and the things that were coming out of my mouth that shouldn't be coming out of my mouth. and how I could turn those things around and make them into positives. It was those things that drew me to you guys, rather than just discussing how sad it was and how horrible it was. And because I knew just going over and over and over the circumstances was going to take me lower and lower and lower. And that was not honoring to my grandson. That was not what I wanted to do for him. His life did not deserve that.
I love that. I wish everybody would adopt that. So if you're watching that, please hear that, someone's life ends, and if you're still here, you still have life to live. And wasting that life or being sucked into grief and not living your life is dishonoring to the person you lost. The most honoring thing you can do is figure out and commit yourself to the work of recovery so that you can live a full, rewarding, purposeful life. I firmly believe that that is the highest compliment, the highest way to honor and celebrate the impact that people have had on our lives is to live our lives, right?
Yeah.
Do something
Right.
meaningful. So I love that. I love that that was your point of view. Okay, so you worked with Coach Janelle
I
as
did.
a one-on-one client, and you went through our Grief Relief Accelerator program. And do you remember when you came into the program, kind of where you were at in terms of, we use the scale, 1 to 10 regularly, 1 being you can't get out of bed, all you want to do is sleep, 10 being you're fully recovered. Do you remember roughly where you were at when you came in the program?
I was probably a 2.
Probably a 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I could get out of bed, but that was about it.
Okay.
I could make it from the bed to the coffee pot to the couch. And that was the extent of my day most of those days.
Yeah. And how long after the loss did you start working with Janelle? So you lost your grandson in March. Refresh my memory. When did you guys start working together? Do you remember?
It was sometime during the summer. I want to say maybe June, July, maybe.
Okay. That sounds about right. There's no absolute right or wrong, but we really find kind of that 3 to 6 month mark is a real sweet spot for people to be over the shock and numb, like grief brain piece of it,
Right.
enough that they can retain information and actually implement things. So that sounds about right. Another thing I want to touch on that you said, which is a big difference with us, is that having tools for learning how to move forward. This is how we're very different than counseling. Counseling tends to look at what happened in the past and process and talk about and analyze what happened in the past, where we are very focused on learning how to live going forward. What are the tools that we need? How do we need to think about our life? What do we need to, what are the skills we need to learn so that when grief shows up, it doesn't have its way with us as much as it does, So it's a big difference between coaching and counseling, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
So tell me, like, either the main, like, aha, or what are a couple of things that you learned and implemented in your time with Janelle that made a real difference for you?
Well, I remember the very first session, she wanted me to tell the story, the story of Gabe's death and how it affected me. And I made a statement, Gabe's death broke me. And she stopped me right there. And she said, it didn't break you. She said, it gave you a different purpose. And she said, I don't want to hear you say that again. So that was my first sentence.
Sounds about right.
So that was, I wrote that down as my first sentence. Gabe's death did not break me. It gave me a new purpose.
I love that. Love it.
And I memorized that. It's in my head. It's laying over there by the by the lamp right now. But I've got them in my head, and I use them because there are days when you feel broken, but they're there. The tools are there.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm not broken. I just feel fractured for a moment.
Yeah. Right. That's so good. Yeah, there's a difference between actually being broken and feeling fractured. I even love the way that you say that, right? And we can learn to resonate and meditate on the truth, even if we have momentary feelings that seem to contradict the truth, right? That we can train our brain to actually know what the truth is and to learn to respond with the truth. I think this is what God talks about, taking every thought captive to Christ, and renewing of our minds. Like, this is practically what it is, the renewing of our minds and meditating on what's true. So the sentences were super helpful for you. Yeah. Like focusing your mind on those things and even creating those things. Yeah.
Having to come up with those sentences that reverse what I was thinking.
Right. And having help to do that.
Yeah. She was very helpful in helping me come up with those reversals.
Yeah. And do you still use them today?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's good. And
Yep, they're still stuck on my bathroom mirror.
yeah, good. Good. And the program, so the program you went through with Janelle is 12 weeks. So you said coming in, you were like you would have give yourself a 2. Do you remember towards the end of the 12 weeks when you were wrapping up, what number did you give yourself then, or what number would you give yourself now?
Toward the end of the program, I was a 9 or a 10 in some places. I couldn't believe I'd come that far because I hadn't looked back. She did, but I hadn't looked back. But yeah, it was phenomenal. I really didn't expect to be that far. And that doesn't mean that I don't have ups and downs.
Right.
I do, but I don't stay there anymore.
Right. I love that. And trust me, we're as flabbergasted as everyone else. We see it time and time again, and it seems crazy that in 12 weeks that you can set aside a couple of months and really do this work and really learn this stuff, and you can go from barely getting out of bed and not having energy or whatever to feeling engaged in your life and looking forward to your future and discovering what your purpose is in all of this. And it can't, it's nothing short of supernatural. And so yeah, it's amazing. Well, I'm so thankful however you found us. I'm so thankful that you found us. And I'm so thankful that you're starting to plug into this new purpose, right? Like what this next season might be about. And you're exploring ways that you can honor your grandson. And you now, the family gets to steward his legacy. Like you guys get to decide and create and invest in a legacy for him. And that is really beautiful. It's really amazing honor to be able to do that for our loved ones. Yeah.
His little business will continue.
Yeah. Well, we'll be sure to shout it out for sure. So lastly, if somebody stumbles across, has found this video, they maybe are finding us for the first time and trying to decide if they should work with us or not, or trying to decide kind of how to approach grief recovery in general, what advice would you give them?
My advice is go for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth the money.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let the money freak you out. It did me at first. But it's worth it. It's worth it. You won't get it anywhere else. You won't get it in a psychiatrist's office. You won't get it in a psychologist's office. I love my pastors, but you won't get it in a pastor's office. They're not going to tell you how to turn it around and make it a positive thing, because grief is so negative. And you never see it as a positive. But it can be. Yeah.
I love that. So good. Well, thank you, Jean, for being able to share. And hopefully, if you're watching this video, we believe if you're watching this video, if you've stumbled across us, it's because God has sent you, because he has healing in store for you. And that's on the agenda for you in this upcoming season in life. So I encourage you to take a step, book a call with a coach, learn about our programs, figure out if there's one that works well for you, because we want to see you at a 9 and a 10 and just, discovering what your purpose might be on the other side of the loss. So, all right, with that, guys, we will see you next time.